Hey, welcome to another episode of Uncorked with T. I'm T, and I got it right today. This is Natara. I always go like this. I got it right today because it's backwards. Anyway, so Natara is the director of undergraduate admissions and diversity outreach at Eastern Nazarene College. She has over 10 years of student affairs admissions experience with higher education system. Sis been putting work in, okay? And her resume is just too long. Like, check out the promo. Her resume is crazy long. Crazy long. What's up, homie? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh God, thank you for being here. Stop. So I wanted to start off with a kind of funny question, because I was like, I don't know, a month from wait, how do you say today years old but past tense? Like I was last month years old. I gotta stop drinking. So I was last month years old.
I can't with you.
Yeah. So how old were you when you found out that the 5 Heartbeats were not a real group?
Oh, I grew up on 5 Heartbeats. So I knew that probably since like I was 9 or 10. My parents, we watched the Heartbeats consistently and faithfully in my house. So girl, and like, we would sing that song all the time. So
I thought it was like the Temptations. Like I thought it was like a biopic. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to listen to it. Leave me alone, man.
I'm only judging a little bit.
That's all right. I earned it. It's a gift. But
that was a wee little thing when I found that out.
Yeah, wee little thing. So let's see. So you do a lot of projects and you've done a lot of things in your career. What has been your favorite project/program?
Wow. That's a great question. I think one of my favorite programs has been, I guess, where it started. So my love for kind of mentoring programs for underrepresented, underserved youth really happened when I was at Bridgewater State University with our LinkedIn program. And LinkedIn was, our Links program. So it was linking individuals to networks, knowledge, and scholarship. It was called Links. And we took our first year students and we paired them up with upper class mentors. And it was all underrepresented, underserved students of color. And it was just this great opportunity because they were all doing it pro bono. They all just wanted to give back and, have students have the same opportunity or better than they did. So I think that was my first love, my first passion of like, oh, wow, like these mentoring programs, these, opportunities that are provided and hand down, and students want to help students and people of color coming together to, support and uplift one another. So that's probably one of my favorite ones. Yeah, that's where it started. I have others that I love, but that I have to go to the core. I have to go to the root of where the foundation was, and that's it. Yeah.
Damn, that's cool as hell. That's that's a question I should have asked you like before when I was. It's cool. We're gonna get this. So for those of you who don't know, like I'm working on being a better podcaster, right? Shut up. I'm a work in progress. Mind your business. So my question to Natara was like, well, my statement was I should send questions over ahead of time so you have a chance to think about it. I didn't do that, but I thought about doing it. And that's step one. Is that
thought is half the battle, right? They say knowing is half the battle. Maybe thinking it is also half the battle.
So maybe I'm halfway there. I'm gonna get it together.
You're halfway there.
I'm halfway there.
We'll get you there.
Thank you. Avocado. Yeah, so you have been, I don't want to skip one because I'm gonna lose my place real quick. Oh, okay. You're gonna be the keynote speaker at PETS.
Yes.
Oh, I said it right.
You did.
Yo, your mom's gonna be so proud that I said PETS right. The bar is
you're,
so low.
You're a Rotarian, so you should probably say it right.
It's wait. Yeah. Yeah. I wrote it down just like that. Yo, first of all, the bar is so low, sir.
You're consistent, T. That's all I'll say. You're consistent.
Oh, thank you. So you will be the keynote speaker at this year's PETS. I know what it means. The president. I swear, I've only had a half a glass of wine. Okay, the President's-elect training seminar for Rotary. You're going to be the keynote speaker. Are you excited? And what are you going to talk about other than being like a boss?
Yeah, well, it was actually like last week. I just did it, so super excited.
Knew
I was
that.
excited about that. And I essentially was talking a little bit about kind of rising to the challenge of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So put together kind of a program to talk through with them a little bit about equity, what it means to have the word diversity and how that's an umbrella term, and the difference in inclusion and equity. And so I started out kind of even talking about like apple pie. And I was like, how many people in the room like pie? And everyone's like, I like pie. And I was like, well, how many like to share pie? Right. And everyone's like, right. So I'm like, well, the importance of like equity and inclusion, right? Equity is like everyone gets a piece of the pie. It doesn't mean it's the same size, but everyone gets some of the pie, right? And inclusion is being able to ask somebody to come and eat it with you, right? And being able to be in that space to be able to show that like folks need seats at the table, but like they also need to be included in the conversation. So giving them a chair isn't enough, right? Having their voices heard, making sure that the room looks differently than you, that thoughts and ideas are different than you. So we talked a lot about that, and we talked about the difference between impact and intent, and how it really doesn't matter whether you intended to do something, how the impact that you have on somebody or how that makes them feel is really what matters, and what you do to move forward from that space matters. So we talked about privilege. It was a great conversation. We talked about a lot of stuff. Heard some great follow-up from folks, asking questions and wanting me to be involved in other areas. So it was great feedback, but I think they're going to take it to their respective groups and do some good stuff with it. So it was nice.
Yeah. I hope so. You see that, Kathy? I asked about Rotary. Just want to put that out there. Because I have separation anxiety, and I miss Kathy, and I just want her to be proud. This interview has nothing to do with that.
Shout out to Mom.
Word. You have over 10 years experience. You have over 10 years of student affairs experience. I've seen you interact with your students, and they really like and respect you. What skill is it that you possess that makes students really like and trust you?
It's a great question. Do you mean outside of being dope? Because that's like.
That's a given. Like that's what I'm saying.
No, I think my ability to woo. I'm very persuasive, but I'm also open. I think so. When you meet students where you are, where they are rather, and you kind of recognize, that they're really just people, and they just want to get to know people, and they want people to listen and to hear them. I think that creates an instant bond where like they understand that you're there for them, that you're there to support them. So I think, if I was to be really open, I think just having an open personality and being able to have listening ears and be encouraging. I've always kind of been the person that can kind of tell you what you need to know, but also uplift you in that same space. So like I have students who I've sat down and like let's get it together, right? But in the same breath, know that they can do more and do better and empower them to do that. And so I think when you just like lay in and really just have their best interests and support them wholeheartedly, I think it just creates a natural bond. I think far too often we're so worried about pleasing students that we don't get to know them authentically and tell them what they really need to hear. And I think that actually does the opposite. I think it strains the relationship because they don't really know, like, can I trust you? Can I come to you? Can I engage? So I think they're looking for that, like that mentorship person who can also like come with the comedy, be silly, listen and engage and try to meet them in the middle. So I think that's how I try to balance those conversations. I'm gonna tell you like it is, but I also am gonna be your biggest fan. It's the way I parent too. So I guess it's twofold.
So like, where'd you learn that? How did you acquire that skill?
Yeah. I'd have to say it probably came from home. My mom and my dad were very much those people who like supported and really encouraged my brothers and my brother and I to really do what we wanted. They supported our dreams and our wishes. At one point, I wanted to be a singer and I wanted to be an actress, and then I was going to be, in track, and then I was going to be, in this or in that, and, pursue all these different dreams. And there was never a time where my mom was like, no, that doesn't make sense. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was always kind of that conversation of like, what do you want to do? How do we want to get there? So I think I've always just had a supportive environment, and my brother always comes with the comic relief. So I think he's 12 years older than me. Heard a lot of with him in that space too. So I think it was really family. And then once I grew into kind of late teenage years, it was more around role modeling and surrounding myself with people who I wanted to mirror image. And I think that was definitely a big part of it too.
Yes. Okay, listening ears. I think that is so important. Like, that old adage, God gave us, 2 ears and 1 mouth so we can listen more.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so important. And then you said at one point you wanted to run track, and like I heard that, and then immediately like I got sad, because running makes me sad when I think about it. Like my legs pumping, unless like I'm physically running from death, like someone is chasing me, like wielding some kind of weapon. I'm not running. It makes me sad, and that's critical.
Yeah, that's, I actually enjoyed it. It was like fun running.
I don't, wait, what? What'd you say?
Fun and running, same sentence. You put them together, fun running.
Oh my God. It's like saying like banana and like bank robbery. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like what?
I promise they go together. I promise.
They go together. Okay. I'm gonna believe you. I
was a sprinter. Don't send me on no mile jogs or anything like that. Like I was good for the 150 yard dash, that's where I stood in my lane.
See?
Quick, and that's it. Out the gate and run on steam. That's the way it works.
That's how you do it. I actually used to run cross country in high school, but like for all the wrong reasons. There was a pretty girl and I was just like, I run track, like I run cross country. I don't. I am mother loving don't.
You were chasing all the
I was
cross country.
Yeah. And like I used to dress very like masculine presenting. So my coach the first day was like, boys over there. And I was just like,
excuse you.
I'm a girl. Lady.
How dare you misrepresent my gender?
Right? What would you I got a good question for you. What professional advice would you give your 21-year-old self? It doesn't have to be one thing. Be like a couple things. Like what would you tell yourself at 21 to do to be successful?
Don't lead with emotion.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I think my younger self, and even sometimes as like I have trailed into later in my career, I tend to kind of internalize things. And I've always wondered, is it me? Am I doing the right thing? Am I asking the right questions? And then when things, didn't go my way, like I'd be like, well, this is what we really need to do. Like, why aren't we just doing that? Like, this is what, is needed. And didn't always see the big picture, didn't always see the decision making of people in different positions of power, or, why they were making the moves that they were making. And then I also think that emotion led into triggering of like being a woman of color, being, in different positions, trying to figure out and navigate what it meant, working for other women of color and wanting us to be in support of one another and not knowing if that was always going to be the case. And then wanting people with privilege to be able to hire more people of color so that people of color who were women didn't feel like they were always competing for the same position. Putting us up against one another. So like we were battling each other, and then people in the culture were blaming each other for battling each other. And yet we weren't looking at the greater scheme picture of like if people with privilege and higher positions of power who are not of color were hiring more of us to do different types of roles, then we wouldn't be competing for the same ones. So I think, leading with that emotion oftentimes was like, okay, let me figure that out. So I think I've learned to balance that a little more, and I'm very pointed in my responses, very careful at how I respond, and have learned, the gift of persuasion in woo, which takes a lot of work and a lot of self-reflection.
Ooh, self-reflection. First of all, you should write a book, because that was such like back-to-back good information. Like you should just put that like in your brain, in the back of your brain, like just a book of like helpful tips from Natara.
I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to sell it on Amazon and get rich fast.
Absolutely. You should. We should.
We should. You're right.
Yeah.
I'll share, maybe.
Sharing is caring.
I'll buy you an avocado.
So for those of you who don't know, avocado. So I live in I'm in Columbus, Georgia, and Columbus is a very nice city. It's also a wee bit dangerous. We've had like 22 murders since January. Listen, your city's a little messed up too, all right? Don't be coming at me like that. So so we don't really go out at night, stuff like that. I'm not part of that life, bro. I like avocados, okay? I want to sit and talk about feelings. So I'm gonna stay my ass in the house. Safest place for me.
Stay home and eat avocado.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Wilton's watching. What's up, Will? Now you say what's up. I ain't talked to your ass, and you know what? It's cool. Call me. Right? Last time I saw him, I think it wasn't at his wedding, right? I saw him before that. Do you remember his wedding?
Yeah, I was there.
I mean, you were there. I remember that. Yeah, you had on a hat.
I did.
Yeah, it was a cool
I
hat.
also had on a dress. Like I had clothes on too, but I did have on a hat.
No.
It was also dressed for the wedding.
Right. Also had on clothes.
You wore a hat.
Like, finish your sentences. You wore a hat and clothes.
And clothing.
And clothing. Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. I will stay safe in the house.
With her avocado. With your avocado.
With my avocados, yeah. I'm not built for that. I'm not. No. If we could just sit down and talk about it, maybe we could move forward. And I'm just gonna stay in the house.
There we go. I second that.
Yeah. So you have two beautiful children, and I think you've been married for like 15 plus years. I have no idea how long you've been married. How long have you been married?
14 years married. So we've been together a lot longer. Yeah.
So I think personally that makes you an expert, because an expert is someone if you read 7 or more books on a topic, that makes you technically an expert, but you have lived 15 plus years in said thing. So I think that makes you an expert.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, don't quote me on that.
Expert in the eyes of T. I'll take it.
Yeah. So, in your expert advice, what do you think makes a relationship strong?
Communication.
Right?
Yes. Communication is so important. The understanding that like you're two different people. I think oftentimes people use that whole like, we're two people and we have to become one. I think they take one too literally. You still are bringing who you are authentically and who that person is authentically into a union, and the union is what is one, right? So I think oftentimes people come in with the expectation that like, well, you should do this or you should do that, but you knew who that person was when you married them. Like they didn't just wake up one morning and essentially change their entire being. You are numb to things that you all don't want to see because you're in love, like you care, right? So like you start to not think about those things. I don't want to see that flaw. I don't want to deal with that flaw. The reality is we're all flawed people, and so unconditional love and the ability to love somebody for who they are, flaws and all, is so important. So like that piece of it's important. Communication is important. The other thing is like this is work. Like people forget that this is a full-time job. Like you work 40 hours a week and then you have to work full-time at your marriage or your relationship, and people forget that. And I think that that is so important. And like my suggestion to anyone who ever asks me about relationship is like, it's not, if you're looking for that, like grass is greener, if you're looking for that perfection, that's not happiness. That's not true love. That's a facade. You're living in a false reality, because that's never going to be the case all the time. So, the other thing that I always tell people is like, nobody wants half of you. That whole like a relationship is 50-50 thing. Like, don't give me half of you. Like it's 100-100. Like you need to give yourself and they need to give all of themselves, and y'all make 200%. But that 50-50 stuff, that doesn't work. So I think, those are my suggestions. Like, you have to find balance. Like, we can't have one person kind of be all of everything. So you've got to find that balance. Like when are times that you need to walk away from something? When are things that you need to celebrate something? What is your love language and what is mine? And being able to like teeter between that. Like I need to love you in the language that I know, and then I need to love you in the language in which you respond to. And those are things that are important too. And people don't always realize that. Like we naturally love in the language that feels natural for us, the comfort, right? But real love is stepping out of your comfort level and out of that zone to love that person the way they need to be loved. And that means learning two different love languages. And not everybody is built to be able to do that.
Dude. That was so good. You're totally an expert. I called it.
Yay.
Called it.
Go marriage.
Go marriage. I'm gonna pass on it, but go you.
Hashtag hard. That's what it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. So
right, which is why like 50,
easy, just run. If you find someone that's like, this is gonna be a cakewalk, run.
Oh, don't hold. Run. Okay. That explains a lot about my life. It's all right. I've been to therapy, y'all. Don't worry.
I can only laugh because I know all of them.
Exactly. I was just like, I'll hold on to this. This totally makes sense.
Exactly. Hold on tight.
Don't worry.
I've been to me about 10 years ago.
Right? No, I got this. Everything's fine.
I didn't write my book. I should have written it.
Why didn't you write it 10 years ago?
I was not. I know. I wasn't very helpful.
Because I'm over here like the house is on fire, but I'm good. We're good. It's fine. That doesn't hurt at all.
This little area in the corner still has air.
Right? So I'll just stand here. This makes total sense. So staying on the topic of love, what action feels like love to you? Because like breakfast and coffee feels like love to me.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm honestly like a words of affirmation, like physical touch. So like action for me is like a hug or like a random, like my husband will go and get me like tea, like my Starbucks tea, and it's over the bridge. So like it's like you gotta actually like you have to make
plan
real like commitment to go over the bridge. So, I think like things like that say like love to me, like actions like that, like the quick hug or like, the goofiness or, I think those are things that like show me that you care, show me that you love me. We never hang up the phone without saying I love you, like things like that, like, all right, love you, bye type of thing. So that's an action. Those are some actions of love. Yeah.
So have you seen the years ago Kings of Comedy that okay, so this is a long-winded question, stay with me. So in the Kings of Comedy,
okay, I'm ready.
You ready? Let's do this. So one of D.L. Hughley's jokes was him. No, so Chris Rock.
This is why I can't.
This is why. So Chris Rock has this joke, and it's about a couple being together for so long that you've heard all each other's stories, right? Like, do you remember the time? Yes, I remember the time. Why don't you get kidnapped, have some new shit happen to you?
Yeah.
So as a married person, being married for 14 years and together for longer, what is it that you do to keep things exciting, seeing that you probably know everything about each other? What is there else to talk about?
Yeah. What's funny is I think if you really are in a relationship the way in which it's supposed to be and designed to be, you don't actually always hear every story, and you also support the ones that you've already heard a million times. So like we'll be in public and like I'll share a story or like he'll share a story and he'll be like, oh, here we go again, heard this one 16 times, but like he still lets me tell it, right? And it's like the same thing with me. Like I just sit there like I'm like, oh yeah, like like you've never heard it, but you heard it 16 times. Mm-hmm. So I think the other ways are like, just being goofy. Like we laugh a lot, like we joke a lot. We bring the kids into the mix and be, silly. We do silly. We have a family handshake. Like we do like a whole like handshake thing and all of us know it. So like we'll like dap each other up and stuff like that.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I think like that's, you have to be creative. Like, but I feel like there are things I still learn about my husband, like from time to time, like a story that he'll come out of the woodwork with that I didn't know about before in his childhood, or, my parents are downstairs or my brother comes up and he's like, oh, I remember when you would do that. And it's like, oh, I didn't know you did that. So I feel like if you're really committed to the process, it's kind of an ever learning situation. Like, I don't really honestly can't say I know everything about him. I think I still learn things from his family members, from his closest friends, from his cousins. When they get together, the dynamic switches. So like you can tell when they're like, when you're with your best friend versus when your cousin, or when you're hanging out with your wife or whatever. So like when he's with his family and I'm like watching the dynamic, I'm like, oh, didn't know that. Okay, saw that come out. So I think that's, some of it, but we're a silly bunch. Like we tell a whole lot of jokes. We goof around a lot. We vacation together because that's important to us. So we try to do things just to keep it, new and fresh and exciting. But like, don't get us wrong. We be in this house just hanging out, chilling, doing nothing. Sometimes we switch rooms because we don't always watch the same TV shows. Like I'm in the bedroom watching TV, he out on the couch watching TV. Like, we give it that space and that divide too, where it's like we come together as a unit, but you're gonna go do your thing, and I'm gonna go do my thing, and we're gonna come back together and be us.
Nice. Speaking of children, how does it feel to be the parent of a teenager? How's
you said you was gonna watch your language on this show. Clearly you have not held your end of the bargain. I feel a lot of things. I feel sad because I feel like you're like, wow, like you're growing up, like you're becoming your own man. Like when his voice starts to drop, like I was like, where did that tone come from? Like 3 weeks ago, it's like, mommy, and then it's like, hey, mommy, I'm like, whoa, hold on. I'm like, who are you? What did you do with my son? I think it's different, right? Like he's still super like snuggly and like wants to hang out, but at the same time, it's like, mom, hang with my friends type of thing, right? So I think I feel a lot of things. I feel like excited because he's such a great kid, right? We're talking about a straight A+ student, like, recruited for AAU, like, doing all types of awesome stuff. But at the same time, there's like this like pain that comes with like the idea that he's aging, but that also ages me, right? So like I'm like, oh, you're 13. That makes me carry the 1 divided by 2. So I think like that's part of the struggle too, is like you realize that like you're getting older and you're, so I think it's hard. I'm excited for him and for his journey, but like the idea of having no more babies, that's tough. Like that's tough. That's tough.
So, are you like a soccer mom, and have you attacked any children on the field for coming at your baby? Oh, snap. I knew it.
Maybe. I'm the soccer, basketball, baseball mom. Yeah, we play a little bit of everything in this house. More so basketball is my strong. So I played soccer. So watching soccer, I'm a little animated, but I refuse to coach it because of that. That's the one sport that I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna let you do your thing. And my husband played baseball his life, so he's very like on the baseball field calling out all the stuff, right? And so basketball is really like that's my like don't mess with my baby zone. And I coach basketball too. I coach both their teams. So they'll tell you there's a difference. I'm loud. I yell.
Good for you.
I'm like the loudest. I'm definitely one of the loudest moms, which is really a throw off because most of the people who coach are like males in that league. So like I come in and I'm like this 5 foot nothing, right? Like here I come and they're like, oh, hi coach. And I'm like, hey, how are you? How's everything going? How is everybody today? Like super upbeat and chipper. And then I get on the court and I'm like, get out. What are you doing? Come on. Ref, that's so fun. Right. So I'm like, I go a little hard. So yeah, I experienced that too. We had one incident where we were playing a rec team and one of the coaches was like doing a little bit of dirty stuff and he like decided he was going to call timeout so he could put in his new strongest kids or whatever against my team so they could try to win. And they ended up like, pig piling on Jaden, and I kind of had a moment and I reacted and the ref like came over and stopped the whole game. Like he was like, enough out of you. And I was like, well, call something then.
Listen, this kid's gonna catch his hands, all right?
So yeah, I would say, I'm a loud one and I'm a mama bear. Don't mess with my cubs.
See, as you should be. Yo, Kathy said tears. He's such a great kid. And oh yeah. So you're the coach, so we already know it's a. I bet a wonderful delight.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. I love it though. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love coaching. I love being out there with them. I don't love that they're growing up, but par for the course. My mom didn't like that I was growing up either, and here I am. So I guess we all eventually swallow that pill.
It worked though. Like, you're great. Your mom's great. Your kids are great.
Right. I'm not half bad after coming up after my mom. It's a tough act to follow. So I I am not half bad.
No, I mean, yeah, it's a high bar.
It's a high bar to reach.
High bar.
She sets that bar real high.
Yeah, and still raising it, which is insane.
Exactly.
Weird. So you have been in the world of, I guess, what I want to call it. Student affairs. I'll call it that. You've been in the world of student affairs. What is it about that part of working with students that made you feel fulfilled? And who was the first person to encourage you in that field of teaching, learning? Shit.
I done forgot the first part of the question. Messed it up. Oh Lord. No. I think what drives me and what is how I think or view success is really like graduation rates. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like the fact that like you can be a part of a journey and encourage students to believe in themselves and to encourage them to cross that stage, like to finish, no matter how long it takes. I think that's really what filled or started my passion for higher education. Like this desire to be able to create opportunity for underrepresented, underserved students and provide access and help them through their journey to be able to get to what for them sometimes feels impossible. I think is what really motivated me in that space. I just feel like it's not always there for them, right? And you think through all the intersectionality and all the barriers and marginalizations that exist in, first generation and, student of color, low income, like all the things and parameters and barriers that some students have to cross. And that day is literally just about them, like the joy that is on their faces and their families' faces. And as they cross that stage is kind of like a pivotal moment in life. And I would, 100 times, like just every commencement, like I'm down to be at every single one. Like I want to see your face. I want to see your family. I want to see your excitement. So I think that's really what drives me, is just being able to get them to their ultimate goal. And then on the other part of who influenced me, oh Lord, my mom. I mean, she never officially told us we had to go into higher education, but I think just watching her and the work that she did and how passionate she was about her students and being invested in like multicultural affairs and diversity efforts, I think to me just kind of caught on. And so there are many people who came alongside me and I've kind of seen and watched and learned from. But I think, I was following my mom as a little teeny bot around Cape Cod Community College, back when typewriters were a thing. Sorry, Ma, I know I just aged you a little bit, but, and typing on her little typewriter and stuff inside the office. So like, I've been surrounded by a higher education space all my life. So it felt right.
Damn. Word. Oh yeah, I asked you about the 5 heartbeats. I was last years old.
Still judging.
Didn't know they were a real group. No idea. I thought it was like the Temptations. I thought it was like a biopic.
The Temptations forgive you. The 5 heartbeats don't, because they're not real.
Hurts. I was thinking about the other day. Do you remember that Robert Townsend movie, Meteor Man?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Listen, we need to have like a Meteor Man conversation, because that movie was so pivotal, but also just ridiculous. It was redonkulous. Yo, please go watch that movie. Like after this, like stay here for this. But after that, go watch that.
I was like, click.
Right? Oh, okay, cool. Such a great movie. Like it was so pivotal to see like a strong Black lead doing something positive, you know, in movies that he funded himself, but also the storyline was just
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. If I that's such a great question. If you were given a superpower, you could pick whatever superpower you want. I'm gonna ask that first, and then I'll ask the second question. So if you could pick any superpower you wanted, what would you pick?
This is gonna sound awful because I know that there's a reason why all of this happens, but I would honestly probably choose the power of bringing back our loved ones. Like I want to go back and bring back people who I've lost. I've gone through some serious hardships in the last several years, and I've lost some people who really mean so much to me. And I think my superpower would be able to just one more time, just hug them, just tell them I love them. You know, maybe say the things that you couldn't have said at that time. So I know it's like super like right heartbreaking, but like when I do some of those things, it's like I don't know. I'd rather do that than fly. I'd rather do that than have eyes in the back of my head. I think I'd just rather have that moment, like that last kind of like that day. Come on, let's all come back through.
Yeah.
And hang out. So I think that would probably be my superpower, the ability to bring back those we miss the most.
That is really cool. I might be a heartless jerk.
You're like, I wish there were more avocados.
Just give me all the avocados.
Creating an endless pit of avocados.
I mean, you're over here like, yes, I would bring back my family and the people I've lost. And that is such an important, like, sentiment. Not just that, like, an important thing to do. Like that, yes, if you had the power to do anything, yes, do that. And I'm over here like, I'd be invisible so I could move shit and people be losing their mind. Like, we're so different.
Close second, though. Close second.
I would just mess with people all day. What's up, Brittany? She said, I would want to fly and be able to manipulate energy. Yo, yes. If I could fly, buddy.
The world would be over if you could fly too.
I
don't think we could give you that superhero.
I would honestly, I would just hover like near people's windows. Like, you gonna let me in or what?
You're gonna be talking. That's okay. The other thing. Like the funny thing, right? If I was to choose like a silly funny thing, I'd probably want to be a fly on the wall. Like, you know, like to hear like the conversations that happen without you being in the space of the room. Like, I'd like to hear what people say about me when I'm not around. Like, I really want to know.
I already know. She's
broken so much, and then you walk out the door, and they're like, "Oh." I'm like, I want to be that fly. I don't know what you're really saying.
I would be that fly if, like, right after I can turn into like a human, like humanoid fly, and just be like, "What now, huh?"
You're not confrontational at all. So.
No. Grab my chair, like, let's sit down and talk about it.
Let's have a conversation about how you're really feeling.
Yeah. So how about that? Fly on the wall no more, right? Fly head, regular legs. What's up?
Like the man in the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Man, talk.
So the second part of that question you already answered, because my question was going to be, what would you do with that superpower? But you answered. You would have the ability to bring your family back, and then you would bring them back. Brittany said that image is frightening. You're not wrong. Because a fly head and human legs is it's just all the time. You know, my brain is it's just all the time. Like, it seems funny in the moment, but it's just all the time.
It doesn't turn off.
Does it?
You have a very busy brain. I'll second that.
Thank you. Do you watch Marvel movies? Have you seen the last big ones?
I don't have much of a choice. I have a 13-year-old boy, so
yes,
much Marvel happening in my house. So.
All right, spoiler alert's coming. So if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, maybe pause it, come back. We'll talk later about it. All right, pause it, come back in like 45 seconds. Okay. So in the Avengers Endgame, spoiler alert, I have to say it twice. Don't be coming at me. I said it twice. So at the end, we all know that Iron Man, is Iron Man's no more. Mhm. Do you think that do you think it was important for him to leave in order for the story to progress, or could we have like had can we continue with oh, that's a good one. Okay. So if we
There goes that brain again.
so if we were to compare the Avengers to our current society, the breakdown of our society with I almost call him Legolas. What is his name? Um super bad dude.
Legos.
I don't know, forehead too big. That dude. His forehead is crazy, son. His forehead is nuts. So that dude, right? Let's say that he is kind of like uh the projection of racism in America. And Captain America, obviously, is America. Would you say that Iron Man is kind of like the voice of the future, and that voice died? Like, are we doomed? Is the question.
Jeepers creepers.
I know.
Ready for Friday night. Goodness gracious, Steve.
It's just how it works.
I'm just lying for that question. You know, wow. I don't think we're doomed. I think we are in a movement, and I think that we are fighting similar fights that people have fought for centuries, right? For years, decades. I think we're doing it differently. I think we are progressing. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't know that it'll ever be solved. So that's not what I mean. I don't know how many generations will have to fight, keep fighting. My kids will fight. My kids will probably fight. Their fights and battles may look different. But I don't know that I believe we're doomed. I don't think we're an end all. I don't think we're going to vanish like Iron Man did. I think we are the Iron Man before he vanishes that kept fighting through war wounds, right? And kept finding a new armor to put back on, right? Creating new suits, right? The Spider-Man who comes back with all these different, like, like this one got torn, so I need a new one. This one got torn, then I get a new one. So I think we are the people built on armor that continues to get broken, but we find new ways to put new armor on. And I think that the only way that we could vanish is if we were to give up, and we're not a people that give up.
Listen, okay, first of all, your navigation to that question was crazy because that question was trash. I'm gonna work on that question and make it better for next week, but that question was trash. But you navigated the hell out of it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I got you.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
I'm over here throwing rompers and you kicking them out the fucking park. You kicked it. Doesn't matter.
That was like running in bank robbery. I don't know.
Right? Like bananas and bank robbery. It just doesn't.
Bananas and bank robbery.
I don't get it. I have a question for you. So you have been in the professional kind of environment for a long time. So you have to deal with professionals and other people. Yeah. So how do you clap back professionally? So if you're at work and let's say Sean is getting a little bit too comfortable with your blackness, how do you clap back at Sean? How do you put Sean back in his bit? Nope. How do you tell Sean to calm the F down?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I've experienced that very often in my life. Believe it or not, my friends, for anyone who watches Scandal, my friends will tell you that I am Olivia Pope, and when I talk to people, they tell people that I'm poping people. That's like their terminology, like she just poped you. And I think what I have learned over time is that I actually get nowhere with giving them what they expect of me. So I always tell people, don't give them what they expect of you. And what they expect of me as a woman of color can often be loud and aggressive and that kind of reaction. So the way that I've always kind of got people to understand where I was coming from is I would smile a lot, and it makes people very frustrated. So like they would say things and I'd be like, I hear what you're saying, but still, right? And I would like do these types of things where I'm like, yes, absolutely, but this is kind of what we need to do. And here is why that's not working. And I would use a lot of I statements. I do that a lot. So I'll be like, so what I heard you say was, 'cause I just want to make sure I get this right. Like what I heard you say was, or is this what, so is this what I, like, I heard you say, like, is that what was meant by this particular comment? So I think I've really tended to be able to meet people at a level. I don't tend to raise my voice despite how angry I am. People get defensive that way. So I've very much learned that defensiveness comes with what I call turtle shelling. So when people get defensive because you're like, hey, don't talk to me like that, da, 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 all of a sudden they feel like they need to have a guard up and now they have to defend themselves against their own like ignorant and rude comments.
Right.
And so they start to kind of come out at you and they're aggressive and they're like, ah, nah, nah, and it's because they're defensive. And so I tend to like want people not to turtle shell because you're going to hear me and you can't hear me if you're in a shell. So like you need to hear that what you said and what you did wasn't right, that it's not going to be tolerated, but you need to listen and you need to hear and then you need to process and you need to change that behavior. And the only way that I'm going to get you to do that is if I come in who I am. I always tell people I never work at or do things that compromise my integrity. So if I, for any reason, have to come out of my character to get you to be where you need to be, I struggle with that. So I very much always maintain who I am. I never get lost in the shuffle of the aggression and the rudeness and the disrespect, no matter how frustrated it makes me. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't walk away and go into my office with tears or, call somebody, you won't believe what, da, 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 right? Or punch a couple pillows or, Zumba or stress, right? Stress, yell, whatever it may be. But I never let them see what they think. I never let them believe that I'm giving them what they already think of me. So I think my clapback is a little different than a lot of people's. I think a lot of people automatically like kind of come out and they're going to tell you exactly what it is, and you're not going to. I think that I reach more people and then build a level of respect to get them to listen to me the next time we're at the table when I'm able to consistently be myself. And usually by the time I'm done explaining what I'm saying and the level and tone in which I'm doing it, people don't even realize that I've just told them off. So.
Love Olivia Pope. Love Scandal. Love Scandal. I really love that ideal, that way of teaching while putting people like back in their place. How difficult was it for you to like learn how to do that without strangling people in broad daylight?
Incredibly. Your first few instances, that's, the comment that we talked about earlier with like, how did you get there? That's growth. Like if I could talk to your 21-year-old self, what would you do? Emotion, right? Like that all took time and work. It took a lot of self-reflecting and energy and saying, what is your end goal? Because ultimately, generally speaking, professionally, my end goal isn't just about me. And that's something that I had to realize. My end goal was not just me. It was, what do my students need? What is what does this person need? What does the family need? What does higher education need? What do folks within the diversity, equity, and inclusion space need? So my admissions work and my student affairs work and my diversity, equity, inclusion work have always been focused on such a bigger picture and so much more than just me. And so I think that's what I needed to do was say, Natara, you have an end goal here. How do you get to that end goal and not sacrifice who you are or compromise your integrity? And that is where I was able to find that middle ground, where I was like, I can get you where I want you, and I can get you to do what I know that is right to do. If I play at your level and mine.
Buddy. Like I said, work on that book. Okay. That is such, just learning that idea, like growth. Yes. Because I think for the longest time, we assume that growth will just absolutely just happen because we're getting older. But it's a thing you have to work on constantly and consistently. So
there are 50-year-old children in this world. So
say it again.
There are 50-year-old children in this world. So age don't always mean everything.
Nothing at all. As you are like learning and growing in these professional spaces, is there a book or a seminar or a conversation that has helped you to grow in these spaces?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is Kenji Yoshino's book on covering.
Mm.
Um, that book talks a lot about what it is like as a person of color coming into professional spaces and wanting to have professional positions of power, and
Mhm.
how challenging it can be to find who you are without feeling like you have to code switch. Um,
Word.
and that is a powerful book for me. It talks a lot about coming into a room, and sometimes, the males who are dominant, who are, self-identified, gendered males, who are white and privileged, would come in with, like, their legs crossed down near the bottom and feeling real relaxed, and then the people of color who were in the room felt like they needed to be on all the time. So they'd come in and they'd be all, everything's all ready and set. And, what do we say? What do we do? Don't say the wrong thing. Don't think the wrong thing. Don't do the wrong thing. And it tends to make us stumble over ourselves and then try to figure out who we are. And then as we grow in the process, we get stuck in between the, are we code switching? Are we covering in order to get to our end goal? Or are we being our authentic selves in our colorness, in our blackness, in our, person of color space? So that was one of the books that really hit me. And that one actually hit me a little later, but it's the most impactful and influential one. I read that and then had the privilege of meeting Kenji when I was at Harvard. And that's one of my strong books that I suggest people read.
What did you say when you were where?
At Harvard.
Oh, okay. I need so much more. I know the answer, but I need you to tell me. What'd you do at Harvard?
um, at Harvard, I was the assistant director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, partnered with the admissions office, had an opportunity to really travel the world recruiting students to embark upon the Harvard journey, but not any student in particular, underrepresented, underserved populations. So I spent my entire Harvard career convincing underrepresented students that they deserve to be at a place like Harvard, because many of them didn't believe it. You'd be surprised the amount of conversations I had with students of color who were like, Harvard doesn't want anything to do with me. And it was actually one of my lectures that I did when I was in Florida presenting was I'm just a little brown girl. What would Harvard want with me? And that was one of my presentations. And I talked all about what it meant to be a person of color, dreaming about a place like this, that they were not ever taught was a possibility, and that they didn't believe was. So yeah, that was my journey. So I loved my time there, and that progressed into all the amazing opportunities that God has lended me thus far. So
Nice. That speech that you're talking about, was it filmed and can we find it anywhere?
it was not filmed, so it is not somewhere, but man, it was one of my favorites, that's for sure.
So, you and I are slightly different because if I were you and I worked at Harvard, I would literally kick in every day I walked in and say, Harvard, bitch. And that's how I'd enter every room I come into. So, is that how you do it? Or just wondering?
No, actually, the funny thing is, you can ask my mom. She'll attest to this if she's still watching. It actually took people a lot of questions to figure out where I worked. I would start, like, people would be like, "So, what do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm in higher education." And they're like, "Well, what do you do in higher education?" "Oh, I'm an assistant director of, diversity, equity, inclusion." "Oh, where do you are?" "Oh, private college, private institution." And then finally, people would be like, "Which private institution in Boston?" Right? And I'd be like, "Oh, Harvard Kennedy School," right? Like, super, nonchalant. Um, but yeah, I was super, super humble about it. And I think, what it is, T, to be completely honest, once you're in the system, in the space, and people know that, they actually treat you differently. Like, once you have that title behind you, it's like, oh, I want to talk to you. I want to know. I want to whatever. But I would do things like take my name tag off and walk around a room and see if anybody talked to me or was encouraged or wanted to engage with me at all. And it was not the same interaction.
Oh, that's man, I would love to back to fly on the wall. I would love to be there to see that interaction and just see people's faces change when you put your name tag back on. They just,
Yeah.
oh, it looks like she can offer me something. Now I guess I'll talk to her. Like, oh,
Yeah.
no, super busy. Mind
Yeah,
yours.
I'd be in rooms where people like didn't know I was the person presenting. Like they'd go to like other people and be like, "Oh, are you representing the Harvard booth or whatever?" And then I'd get up and present, and they'd be like, Oh, she's the one I got to talk to about admission. Awesome. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been there before. I've been at like open mic nights, and they're just like, "Can I get a drink?" So welcome to so and so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That.
So that happens everywhere from bars up to Harvard. Good to know.
Pretty much. Yep.
Cool. There doesn't seem to be any systemic kind of problem here.
Not at all.
Nope. A-okay.
Everything's
fine. The world is on fire. We're gonna die a slow, painful death.
But there's that over there. Let's go find that.
It's fine. We talked about putting Kool-Aid in wine earlier, so we're good.
Exactly.
I'm gonna try it, guys. I'm totally gonna try it. You know I'm gonna try it.
That's what I'm worried about.
How could you not? I didn't even think about that. How could you not put Kool-Aid in wine? Now that I say it out loud, So how far back did I set us? Like a lot or a little?
A lot.
A lot? All right. So we're going to skip that. We're just going to leave wine with the grapes.
There we go. That's
great.
Where it belongs.
Grapes are great.
Grapes are great.
So if I could just learn when not to say shit, I'd be great. I'd be great. So
I don't think that's in your foreseeable future. So we'll
I don't think so. No. So my last question, and then I will let you go because I know you have a whole life to do. And thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Of course.
You do Zumba. Zumba is so much fun. What is your go-to Zumba song? And have you ever taught Zumba and anyone pass out? Because I would be the first if you haven't.
Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Have I ever had anyone? I got to start with that question because that's funny. I have not had anyone pass out, but actually as a disclaimer for my class, I actually tell everybody that they need to hydrate, take breaks when they need to, because they're not on my insurance. So if they pass out, I can't help them. So that's usually always like my like super goofy disclaimer. So I do that a lot. I'm also, a fitness coach. So I think that's part of the conversation too. I'm like, don't pass out. You're not on my insurance. And my go-to song is actually, it's by Jay Perry. It's Bougie. It's like one of my favorite like go-tos. It's super busy. Like it's a whole movement thing. There's like a lot going on. A lot of like shaking and moving and abbing and all that type of stuff. So I have a very strong core workout as a part of my Zumba. So that's one of my favorite ones.
So how did you, I'm so sorry. I know that was the last question, but I'm just so curious. Like, how did you get into Zumba? Like, why Zumba and not like kickboxing? Like, why Zumba?
To be honest, I had just had my first child and I was trying to figure out how I could do something fun that didn't remind me that I was working out. And Zumba was what it was. Like I was like, oh, I've got all this baby weight on me. Like I really want to get fit, but like I just didn't have like the desire to be like, let's just get on a treadmill and figure it out. I wanted to be like whisked away. Like I didn't want to think about the fact that I was actually working. And so I fell in love with it from there, became an instructor. I've been instructing for about 6-7 years now. And I love it. Like, it's super fun. And I throw a whole core workout in there. So there's a lot of dancing, but like, you don't realize that you're squatting because you're like, the music is playing and your adrenaline's going. So like at any point in time, I'd ask somebody to do 40 squats right out the gate and they'd be like, oh, 40 squats. But then I play a song and we're in there going through the whole song and they squat the inside, like the Dale song, like Dale, that whole song is squat. People just be squatting the whole song, like not even thinking about it. 200 squats in that song, easy.
No.
One of these days, T. One of these days.
Softball. I will play softball all day, every day. It's the only time I will actually run. But other than that,
and except for on cross country for pretty girls.
So dumb. Like my lung capacity, and I didn't even smoke back then. I was just like, is it me? I just love is hard.
Love is hard. Love is so much energy.
Right?
It's sucking the oxygen out of me.
Just so much to deal with. Yeah. And I didn't even end up talking to her. I was too shy. I was just like, hi. Ah.
Nice. You lost all your oxygen. You didn't even get the prize.
No, not at all. Not at all. No. Mm-hmm. That's my life. Anyway, so your mom, aka Kathy, said that AKA worked. Anyway, she said, "I'm proud of you both. I've watched both of you grow so much, and I claim that speaker of yours." LOL. Love that top, Natara. Oh, your mom loves your top.
Yes, be the change, people.
Yes,
Don't just talk about it. That's the problem. Be it.
right.
Walk the walk. Stop
Exactly.
talking. We've talked
So,
all our lives.
wait, say it again.
We've talked all our lives. It's time to walk.
Word. Damn it, just write the book. Just write the book so I can read it and be better.
Got you.
That's it. All right, y'all. Thank you for staying with us this week. Thank you, Natara Andrews Gray, for being with us tonight. So I put her bio in the chat in the promo, but I'll read it anyway because she's amazing. So Natara is the director of undergraduate admissions and diversity outreach at Eastern Nazarene College, and she has over 10 years of student affairs admission experience within the higher education system. What y'all know about that? What y'all know about that? Sister out here making moves, son. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, remember that hurt people, so keep an eye on your pain. Stay safe. Godspeed. See you next week. Deuces, peeps.
Bye, team.
Bye.